I was really worried about starting my period. I didn't want to, but then it was fine when it came. I just didn't really want to start.
It's the whole idea of growing up so much and you feel like you're really young, and then all of a sudden when you start your period you maybe feel a lot more grown up than you were before, and it's something that women get, not so much. You don't think of little girls as having it, and when you're still in primary school that's a bit scary.
All of my friends had started in year 6 or year 7, and when I started it was in year 8, so all of my friends had already started.
I was worried about what everyone at school would say because I was really young. I was only 10. So at school you don't know who started, and at primary school no one really likes to tell, and so you're worried that other people haven't started and you've started and you're the first to start. So it's kind of it's really like nerve-wracking because you don't know what people are going to say behind your back, or if you should even tell anyone.
The thing I was worried about my period was if it hurt. And if I was like the only one in my class to start it, and then like no one could relate to me.
When I started my periods, I spoke to my mum about it, but because I was quite young compared to most people, I didn't speak to my friends about it, and now I think that was silly because they would have been there for me. They wouldn't have, thought anything other than being supportive.
Most females I know, like my mum, my auntie, my cousins, and lots of my friends, there's always like a playground discussion kind of thing. We always talk about it and give each other top tips.
My friends were like my main source of information. I had a friend who'd started just before me, and she came and told me all about it. And then when I started, she was the first person I told, and then she sort of eased me into it and helped me if I ever needed anything.
I know about periods because you have lessons in class about it. They really tell you about it, and my mum had told me all about it and what to expect.
I knew what to do because the school nurse and my mum told me that when I'd started I shouldn't panic, and I should just go and get a sanitary towel and it will be normal, it will be fine.
I think my mum handled it pretty well. She just told me the facts and was always there for any questions I had. Also, she took me to the shop and explained all of the different pads and tampons and everything and what they all mean, and what a light flow and a heavy flow is and everything like that, which was really helpful because I was really confused.
I thought the internet, was quite useful to use for information. I thought I had quite a lot on, because other girls would write on things about advice for you so that you could look at, which was good.
Definitely on the internet. I've tried everything on the internet.
When I started my period, I lost a lot of blood, and I was really concerned about. I was thinking, is this normal? And my mum reassured me, and she was like, every girl has a different period, everybody's unique, not every girl has the same exact period. So obviously you might experience lots of blood loss, but your friends might not. So I felt reassured about that okay, maybe my period's a bit different to others, but still everybody's different, not exactly the same.
They say that it's every 28 days, but sometimes I wouldn't be on it for quite a bit after my first time, and then I'd ask myself, is there something wrong? But I'd ask my mum, but my mum told me that irregular periods is natural, it happens to everyone.
When I first started, it was scary. I cried when I started, which now seems really silly. But I was quite nervous, but then after a while you get used to it. After a few months it just becomes really natural because you have it regularly and you know what to expect after you've had it the first time.
I was told it would be painful and I'd be doubled over and crying even, but it really isn't that bad.
My aunties were going on about it, saying that when they started, they lost a lot of blood and it hurt and the pain was a lot, but I think they over-exaggerated because I didn't lose that much blood. It was just little and it didn't hurt as much.
I'm going to be honest, when I started my period, there was nothing that excited me about it. Now it just seems very natural and completely normal. But at first, when I started, I was nervous more than anything.
First period that I had was kind of painful, and I hadn't been expecting it, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
I wish someone told me that it wasn't as bad. Everyone said it was so bad to have your period, but it's not that bad. It isn't. It's just a bit of a hassle sometimes. It's not as bad as everyone says. I wish they told me that.
To always have a little bag with pads in it, to always be secure, and to be safe that wherever you are that you could just use it.
When I have period pain, I have paracetamol sometimes, and I take a hot water bottle to bed, and I drink lots of water, and that sometimes helps a lot.
Write down the date that you start and count 28 days so you know roughly when you're due to start again.
To always know in advance when you're going to start your period, always keep a record of it, so that say you're at school one day and you're not expecting to get your period, if you have a pad or a sanitary towel or a tampon, whatever you choose to use, if you have it in your bag, or you've got a stash of them, you'll always be prepared for when you do start it, regardless of whether it's on time or not. You always need to be prepared for it.
When I first started, I went with my mum, and obviously she wanted to let me see what products are out there, so I have a head full of knowledge of what I can choose, and I saw lots of different products, and I always choose ones that always offer me maximum protection, because I always want to feel protected and not uneasy about anything.
I tried quite a few, and then I'd speak to my friends about what ones they used, and then they'd told me, and then I'd compare, and then it's just trying them out really and seeing what's best for you.
I use sanitary towels, because I think that was what I first was introduced to. My mother introduced me to them, and I've just been using them from the start really.
And I think if you're using a comfy sanitary towel, then the whole experience is better.
I started using pads first of all because I found them easier. I didn't want to start using tampons that early.
Usually I use pads, but if I go swimming, I use tampons. They're easier to carry in your bag, tampons really, because they're smaller, but I usually use pads.
As I sort of moved on, I realised that it's really not that much of a big deal. Just tampons are a lot easier to use.